Hello everybody! Welcome to Reacting Reddit, where real humans read, react, and respond to content on Reddit. Today I picked the question by Out of a Billion. Well, actually this isn't a question, this is something about parrots. And it's quite actually interesting. This is about keeping parrots as pets and like some of the bad things that have to do with that. And I live in Nicaragua, so that's why I picked this. It's very common here for people to have birds as pets. Very, very common. Like, believe it or not, you can go to PriceSmart and go do your shopping, whatever, get in your car, and then as you're leaving the parking lot, there's these people who are gonna try and sell you exotic birds. So they'll come up to your car window and they'll have like parrots and toucan. It's illegal to sell toucan because they're endangered, but wow, that took some getting used to for me. Like, just coming out of a store and then somebody puts a toucan in my window and I'm like, oh my god. Like, it's sad that they have this toucan, but also toucans are really cool looking. Super cool looking. But it's super common here. Like, toucans aren't really that common. They're kind of rare. But you do see parakeets all the time. Tons of people here have parakeets as pets. And it's kind of sad. It's definitely sad. The parrots that we're going to be talking about in this video aren't the same as the parakeets that people here keep as pets. But people also have parrots and other birds as pets here. They're just not as common. The parakeets are like really, really common. Tons of people have them. So, this post by Out of a Billion says, "Today I learned that there is a growing problem with keeping parrots as pets, as they are not domesticated and their lifespan can be over 70 years. Thousands are abandoned over the years. Incidentally, this problem increased when more people wanted to have an intelligent parrot like Alex as a pet." I've never seen Alex. I don't know what that is. Defenestrationism. Not sure how to pronounce that, but this person says, "I used to have an African gray parrot who was abandoned with me by an ex. My neighbor also thought I was a raging pervert because the parrot's cage was near a window, which I almost always left open during warmer weather, which looked out on their yard, and my parrot used to catcall at the neighbor's wife whenever she was in her yard. Imagine my surprise when her husband came over to have a talk with me about my behavior towards his wife and how he didn't appreciate it. I took him over to the window and showed him the source of the sexual harassment, just as the bad bird belted out another wolf whistle." We all had a good laugh about it, and I was on good terms with those neighbors after that. Oh, that must have been such an embarrassing... That must have been embarrassing for that dude. Oh, man. Imagine getting so frustrated with your neighbor catcalling your wife all the time that you feel like you have to go talk to your neighbor. That's great. This has nothing to do with the growing parrot problem, though. It is a cool story from a person who had a parrot that was abandoned, but it was with him by an ex, so I don't know if that counts, because it seems like he kind of participated in the getting of the parrot and then just kept around to keep the parrot. So... yeah, I don't know. It's funny how the logic of like, oh, well, this parrot wasn't from the wild. And it's like, it's true, you know, that if you don't take care of an animal, someone else is not going to take care of them even worse. But it's also true that just having the pets in general makes the problem a bigger issue. So, like, I personally know a lot of like animal loving people, and they would never like buy their own pet. But when they know that like a pet's not being taken care of or a human's trying to give it away or get rid of it or kill it, they'll take the animal, right? And so you end up having a bunch of animals that like are better off, but it's still kind of sad because they shouldn't be in captivity, but they are, and yeah, c'est la vie. This reply says, "I guess you watched Parrot Confidential last night. That show should be mandatory for anybody who wants a pet parrot." Oh, apparently there's a show about the parrot trade, called Parrot Confidential. So if you want to check that out, tell me how it is. I would watch it, but my girlfriend doesn't like animal problem stuff, so she would probably get sad. She likes birds a lot. Demetrius 3D says, if you still want a parrot after that, they should make you babysit a toddler who's been gifted a vuvuzela, vuvuzela? I don't know how to pronounce that word. I think that's a loud instrument. It goes like, so you would give that to the kid of somebody who you want to annoy. And a pair of needle-nose pliers for a week. Out of a Billion says, yes, I watched that show today, actually. I enjoy watching nature, and this is not new to parrots, sadly. There's been an increase, or at least that I've noticed, in episodes where many animals are suffering, whether it's be due to deforestation, poaching, or deliberately manipulating ecosystems. Oh, I don't know if more animals are suffering. Like, if you want, like, the problem with animal suffering now is that humans have scaled up so much that, like, we're capable of wiping out entire species, you know? Like, we've done that, and we still do that to this day. But we do have the concept of regulation, where there were times, like with ivory, for example. The ivory trade is alive today, but it's not as prolific as the ivory trade was during, like, the Roman times. In, like, the Roman times, there was an empire, tons of people, and they were just giving anybody money who would give them ivory because they loved ivory. So imagine that the United States government was giving any random person money for ivory, right? Like, that doesn't happen now, you know? But that used to happen in the past. So I don't know if it's completely true that all animals are worse off now. Believe it or not, some animals might actually have been worse off before, and things have gotten relatively better for them. But I'm not saying all animals are like that. And I'm not saying that overall humans have had a more positive effect than negative, because we've wiped out a lot of different animals, or indirectly caused a lot of different animals to get wiped out. So, yeah. This guy says, Sil3NTSL33P, I had a brain fart, and for some reason I was wondering why anyone would want a pet carrot. That's pretty funny. Original poster says, to add in another today I learned with this. There exists a sanctuary for these abandoned parrots called Foster Parrots. Unfortunately, Foster Parrots currently have only around 500 parrots, and they can't support anymore. Damn. So, parrots aren't domesticated, but it's legal to own them. And here I am, Red Panda-less. Oh gosh. I can't even imagine what taking care of a bear is like. That must require, at least a panda is a herbivore, but do you have that much bamboo? Like, geez. What? Depending on the state, you can own a red panda, according to Chaos Score. You just have to find a way to get one from China, along with a shit ton of bamboo. That's funny. Toy Story 3 was okay says, I actually work in retail, and the owner has a parrot in the store. The parrot is 56 years old, and the owner got the parrot in his will, and he has left it in his will. Whoa. Okay, that's kind of cool. Imagine like a parrot that's gone through your grandfather had him, and then your grandfather died and gave him to his son, and then your father died and gave him to you, and you have this old parrot. Like, that's pretty crazy. I bet that parrot knows a lot of words. Ingathio says, as someone who had a parrot in the family my entire life, I disagree with the statement that parrots do not make good pets. However, they do require an absurd amount of dedication, and because of this, I think that many people are not equipped or educated well enough to own a parrot. Parrots are incredibly fragile psychologically, and their brains work differently from many domesticated animals. People tend to use negative reinforcement when birds do something they don't like, which ends up ruining the relationship between the owner and the bird. You can't yell at a bird to get it to stop yelling, or hit it, or do anything like that. For birds, this is a form of abuse, which can cause behavioral issues and feather picking. When handled correctly, birds can be sweet and loving lifelong family members. The bottom line is that you should never get a bird unless you are prepared to take care of a special needs child for the rest of your life. Sporkafunk replied to that by saying, I've had 3 cockatiels. The one from my childhood is approaching 30 and he can't fly anymore, but he still sings on my mother's feet. I bought one with my husband and she stays with him. She loves to jump directly onto your food. And now I have one that I adopted from a friend. Used to belong to their deceased grandma. No one in the family wanted the responsibility. I've had her for 4 years, and she is literally one of the sweetest birds ever. Her vet said so. She's molting right now and fucking terrified of her own feathers and hisses at them after they fall out. Confirmed, parrots are great pets and lifelong toddlers. Kogosaplis says, FYI, that's not negative reinforcement. That's punishment. Negative reinforcement equals removal of an aversive stimulus. Positive reinforcement equals introduction of a desirable stimulus. Punishment is introduction of an aversive stimulus. Just in case you care and would find this information interesting and useful. That is funny, actually. Yeah, a lot of people, I hadn't even caught that, even though I'd heard it, that negative punishment isn't the same as negative reinforcement. I don't know if that's true, actually. Punishment might be a form of let's break the tool. Let's go out of here and Google, is punishment negative reinforcement? Okay. Interesting. So negative reinforcement is specifically when you take away something positive as a punishment. Doesn't sound something that would work well on a bird, though. Either way, punishment or negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is really, really better when you're dealing with highly kind of intelligent creatures. Interesting. Okay, back to our posts. This reply by random account 178. Just because you can keep an animal as a pet, and just because you enjoy having that animal as a pet, doesn't mean it's a very good animal to keep as a pet. All those things you listed in that, however, are the reasons they don't make very good pets. There are high upkeep animals with long life expectancy and difficulty being rehomed. Those together make a poor choice for a pet. It doesn't mean you can't find them lovely, or that if you want one and are responsible, you can't enjoy them. It just means they're a poor choice of animal for a pet, just like any other animal you can keep as a pet that has similar restrictions. The important thing to keep in mind is the distinction between I want a parrot and I want a pet. If you want a parrot, then a parrot is a great choice for you. If you want a pet, then a parrot is likely a poor choice for you. Wow, that was really well done. Quite eloquent. Well put. If you want a parrot, get a parrot. If you want a pet, don't get a parrot. That's easy to remember. 8-Bit Baker says, I can believe this. Especially because my mom has a parrot that I have little to no affection for. My mom is still plenty young, but the thought of what to do with him if she ever passes has crossed my mind, because frankly, the parrot's an ass, and I don't want him. Sad, but I can definitely see how it's such an issue. I think it's funny when people call animals assholes. Oh my god. CMDR Tweak says, a good friend of mine owns a parrot sanctuary. You wouldn't believe how many parrots they have on their land. I've been there some days and they've had 10 parrots dropped off in one day. He says that people usually get parrots and just have no idea what kind of commitment they've gotten themselves into. There's even been some occasions where people will stop by to adopt the parrot and then come back 2 weeks later to give the parrot back because they had absolutely no idea how much work it was. Wow. TRC says, because of parrots getting free being released, there are wild parrots in East Dallas around White Rock Lake. Parrots are loud. I don't know about wild parrots, but there's wild parakeets here, and they just are really loud, and they fly in these flocks, and you can hear them coming from ages away. They're really cute, though. Braceveg7 says they are. If they don't like you, they are quite happy to use that beak against you. Worse, they are clever and spiteful. They can and will trick you into thinking they are sweet and friendly, so you will come closer so they can bite you or poop on you. Yes, their poop is a projectile, and they can aim it at you. They'll do it intentionally and even laugh about it when they hit you. I don't know if birds have that much bad intention. Nilsruva says, I have wanted a parrot my whole life. For this reason, I got a Parrot-less, because it has the intelligence of a larger parrot, but they're not as smart as a gray or a macaw, but still small enough to be apartment manageable, and most importantly, has a realistic lifeline. Bearing tragedy, Paco will die before me, so I know he can be cared for. Unless you get a gray as a child, or have a family that is very into birds, it is just downright irresponsible to own one. Yeah, it's kind of funny how some people will prefer a pet that's gonna die first. Like, I guess that, depends on the whole pet's reality, but isn't that kind of crazy? We're cherry picking animals that have a shorter lifespan so that we can be better pet owners, Like, isn't that kind of funny? We're picking we want animals that die sooner. Like I know it's ethical to the reason, the end result of that is ethical, because you don't want an animal to have to go through losing you and everything because it outlives you and it still needs a person to take care of it. But at the same time, you can't deny that you want something to die earlier. It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Moving on. This post by Mission Chips. I went to live with my dad for a few years. He had an African gray. No one spent time with it, and the country he lived in was boring, Kuwait. So I spent most of the time. The country? You can't tell me a whole country is boring. How ignorant is that? Come on, there's like no country in the world that's small enough that you can say an entire country is boring. You can say you were bored, but saying Kuwait is boring? Let's see, how many people are there in Kuwait? Population of Kuwait. Oh, 4.13 million. Okay, so you're saying that 4.13 million people are all boring. No. You could say you're bored in Kuwait, or you feel bored in Kuwait, but you can't say the whole country of Kuwait is boring. No. F you, Mission Chips. I bet there's plenty of interesting Kuwaiti people out there. Anyway, moving on. He kept tricking it into letting him stroke its head. After a week, it wanted me to stroke its head. In the end, it was fully tame and would sit on my shoulder and not fly away. I left and no one else gave the parrot attention. Went back for a holiday 2 years, and the poor parrot looked like a battery hen. It seemed mentally ill, twitching and making weird head movements. It died a week after I left again. If you're going to give them attention, you will always need to keep giving them attention. It's not a good pet unless you live alone and don't want friends. What? Well, it's not a good pet unless you love that pet and you really know what to do with them and you understand how to take care of them. But even so, yeah, I mean, are tigers good pets? No. No, people still have them. Is it good people have them? Maybe it's going to prevent tigers from going extinct. But, it's a hot debate. All right, everybody. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe and comment with a Reddit article you would like me to read. Or let me know if you want something funny. You can tell me a topic. Tell me, hey, I want to learn more about this country. Or I want to learn more about my favorite video game, RuneScape. Or, I don't know, you want to laugh about some stuff. You want to hear some funny stories from childhood or whatever. Just tell me what your preference is, and I'll make content tailored to those preferences, okay? Just comment below. And if you are interested in making these kind of videos, please reach out to us. We are developing software that displays stuff on your screen that you interact and read and respond to while you're recording your screen. This allows you to quickly create tailored YouTube content to your interests. And you take other people's content and you add your own twist and spin on it. And ideally, 50% of it is reading, 50% of it is you talking and reacting and going on about stuff. So that's the goal. If you're interested in that, you want to make YouTube content with the tool, reach out to us. Go to our YouTube channel, click on the email contact info under the For Business Inquiry section, do the CAPTCHA code, send an email saying hello because we want to Zoom call with you. All right. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.